welcome everybody to this afternoon's town board meeting of Monday, December 1st, 2025. I'd like to acknowledge first that it's not in the agenda here, but Sharon Rich, who is the past chairwoman of our Arts and Culture Committee, past chairwoman of the Williamsville Arts and Culture Committee, former chief of staff to Mary Lou Rath, Senator Mary Lou Rath, and founding thought and founding member of the art festival, amongst many other things, passed away this week. And I'd ask everybody to keep Sharon and her family in your thoughts. It's with a heavy heart that we hold this tonight's board meeting in memory of Sharon. With that, I would ask everybody to please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I would ask our town clerk, Franceville, to please call a roll.
Supervisor Copa.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin.
Present.
Councilmember Berger.
Here.
Councilmember Zuccalla.
Here.
And Councilmember Marinucci.
Present.
All right. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from Monday, November 10th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a couple of proclamations and announcements. First, some announcements. We have, am I doing these? Breakfast with Santa on December 6th from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Senior Center. The Town of Amherst Holiday Market is December 6th from noon to 5 p.m. at Town Hall parking lot. The Amherst Symphony Orchestra Songs of the Season will be December 7th at 3 p.m. at Williamsville South High School. The Holiday Happenings on December 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Senior Center. And we have resolutions, actual proclamations this evening. First, two proclamations that I'm going to read and then invite the individuals forward. But they are for Area Connectus and Alicia Govindaraj. And I'm going to read them, and then I'll ask the young ladies to please come forward. First, whereas Area Connectus is a 15-year-old from Amherst, New York, working towards a piano performance career, and whereas beginning at age 3, Area was a regular in the music with Mar classes and decided to try violin at age 4, she was enrolled at the Harriet Zimmerman Piano School in Rochester. And whereas Area practiced daily to work on goals that Mrs. Zimmerman assigned and steadily continued her piano skills in her elementary years, she picked up cello studies, gymnastics, dance classes, field hockey, basketball, and rock climbing. And whereas at age 10, Area continued to focus her efforts as a pianist and gave 2 full recital programs just 3 months apart. She expanded her daily training to 5-hour sessions and was enrolled in homeschooling to accommodate her training and travel demands, as well as lessons and performances. And whereas Area has performed in Buffalo, Rochester, Skinny Atlas, Europe, and South Asia, and she has spent summers at the Amalfi Coast Music and Arts Festival in Italy, the Gijón International Piano Festival in Spain, the Palmetto International Piano Festival in South Carolina, and the Euro Arts Festival in Poland. And whereas Area has had many opportunities to perform with her sister Alicia, who is an extremely talented violinist, in several performances across the country, and whereas Area Connectus's artistic achievements serve as a beacon of inspiration for other aspiring young musicians, proving that passion, discipline, and deep appreciation for musical heritage can lead to outstanding accomplishment. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Town of Amherst Town Board formally recognize Area Connectus for her remarkable contributions to the world of music, and we extend our deepest gratitude to her for her dedication and commitment for sharing her beautiful musicianship, which has enriched the cultural landscape for many. Next, we have a proclamation for Alicia Govindaraj. Whereas growing up in the digital age of instant results, 14-year-old Alicia Govindaraj is working towards a long and difficult path for violin performance. And whereas at age 3, Alicia noticed the Buffalo Suzuki Strings flyer for instrumental lessons for preschool-age children and decided to try out the violin. And after a year in the Suzuki class, Alicia entered the violin studio of Janet Milnes of Rochester. And whereas Alicia practiced daily to work on goals that Ms. Milnes assigned week to week, she continued to developing her violin skills in elementary years and has enjoyed piano studies, gymnastics, dance classes, field hockey, and softball. And whereas at age 9, Alicia finished elementary school and turned her focus to become a violinist. She gradually entered into an intensive training with internationally known violin coach George Taylor of the Eastman School of Music and began homeschooling to help accommodate the demands of training, practices, and performances. And whereas Alicia spent the summers when she was 11 and 12 at Meadowmount School of Music in Westport with Ann Stetzer, a longtime legend and a well-known summer residence, and was invited to perform in a concert series finale at the Hand House in Elizabethtown, New York. And whereas Alicia has had several opportunities to perform with her sister, Aria, who is a talented pianist, and they have both performed together across the country. And whereas Alicia's artistic achievements serve as a beacon of inspiration for other aspiring young musicians, proving that passion, discipline, and deep appreciation for musical heritage can lead to outstanding accomplishment. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Town of Amherst Board formally recognizes Alicia Govindaraj for her remarkable contributions to the world of music, and we extend our deepest gratitude for her dedication and commitment for sharing her beautiful musicianship, which has enriched the cultural landscape for many. I'm going to invite both forward first, please.
Thank you so much. I feel very fortunate to be growing up in the town of Amherst. Most of my early childhood activities happened because local businesses thrive in this town. For example, gymnastics at Greater Buffalo Gymnastics Center and at Stumps in Williamsville, dance classes at Dance Central in Williamsville, basketball at the YMCA, ballet at Classical Ballet in Williamsville, and schooling at Country Parkway Elementary School and Transit Middle School. And currently field hockey with Williamsville Stampede, and schooling and college courses at Erie Community College. And without the support of the town and the local businesses in the town, my childhood wouldn't have been as well-rounded. I feel that the town really nurtured us and we were kind of raised by the village. Thank you so much to the town and to everyone who helped us and help us now as we share the stories in our music. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the many joys of music making is the sharing of historical context. We've been fortunate to share this with many communities here in Amherst thanks to the following organizations. The Asian Indian Community Foundation of Western New York, which generously invited us to present the history, tonality, and voices in Bach's unaccompanied violin music. The Amherst Chamber Ensemble, which invited us to perform works for piano and violin composed centuries apart. Canterbury Woods in Williamsville, which generously invited us to present works by Bach, Paganini, Beethoven, Chopin, and Mozart over several occasions. Without the support of the town and its organizations, the work cannot continue. We are grateful and we thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you and congratulations to both of you. We appreciate your wonderful gift and your sharing of that gift with all of us. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We have another proclamation this afternoon. This one is to honor Jean Widlicka, 87, valued instructor at the Amherst Center for Senior Services. Do we have the rock? We're doing it tomorrow. Oh, sorry. We're actually going to share that proclamation tomorrow at the Senior Center. So we invite anybody who's interested to join us for that. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 983. It's a public hearing renaming of the Amherst Main Library at Audubon to the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library. I'm going to motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
And I'm going to invite Elizabeth Burkowski to please present this evening's resolution.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Burkowski, Director of Special Projects for the town. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the resolution and the Congressman's personal history and explain to you why she's being considered as the namesake for this library. There we go. Okay, so the Amherst Public Library is part of the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library System. It has a total annual operating budget of nearly $2.4 million, and I'm sure most of us have been to one of the 4 branches, which includes the main library over at Audubon. You can see that we are blessed with an enormous amount of resources in the form of our public library. It's almost 9,000 open hours between the 4 branches during 2024 and over 350,000 patron visits annually. The services include obviously the lending of physical materials and digital materials, but also there's a ton of programming for children and for adults. There's public computer use, and there is a very active reference desk. So we are just really fortunate to have this library system here in the town. The library system is governed by the Library Board of Trustees, which provides legal and financial oversight to the library. Its main role is to support the executive director in operating the branches and furthering the mission of the library. And the library board recruits candidates to be trustees, and those candidates are recommended to the town board, which then makes appointments to the board. The town also owns and maintains the library building, the main library building, which is how the town has the right to rename it as well. Congressman Shirley Chisholm was an incredible woman, extremely accomplished. You can see there maybe her most famous quote, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." She was famous for being the first Black woman and the first woman to do a lot of things. So she was the first Black woman elected to the Congress. She was the first Black candidate for a major party's line for president when she sought the nomination for the Democratic Party. She was a New York State Assemblywoman out of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously in 2015. Before she did all of that, she was the daughter of Caribbean immigrants, and she was raised in New York City. She did earn her BA from Brooklyn College, and then she went on to earn a master's degree from Columbia Teachers College after she was already in the workforce. She started as a director of a child care center in Brooklyn, and then she worked her way up to becoming a consultant to the New York City Division of Daycare. So she really was an expert on early childhood education. Once she was elected to Congress, she served on several very important committees while she was in Congress. While she was on the Agriculture Committee, she was able to lead the expansion of nutrition programs for women, for children, and for families living in poverty. So we can thank her. Anyone who's receiving TANF support or food stamps these days can thank her for expanding that program, and particularly the WIC program that provides nutrition to women and babies, mothers and babies. She also served on Education and Labor for a long time, as well as Veterans Affairs, but she gave up her seat on Education and Labor in order to assume a seat on the very powerful Rules Committee. She was only the first Black woman and only the second woman at all to serve on the Rules Committee, which is an enormously powerful committee. When she retired from Congress in 1983, she moved full-time to live in Amherst. She'd actually been living here part-time with her second husband, who was from Williamsville. They lived in the village, and they had started living here part-time in 1977. At the time, she was still a congresswoman, and she was in fact criticized by some of her constituents because she spent so much time in Amherst, and she was devoting a lot of her attention to Amherst. She continued her advocacy for national social and economic justice throughout the rest of her career. And while she was in Western New York, she really focused on a couple of activist groups, including the NAACP here and Concerned Parents and Citizens for Quality Education. At the same time, she continued to speak across the country on those issues that were important to her, and she taught classes at Mount Holyoke and Spelman and at Buff State as well. So should the board decide to move ahead with renaming the library in honor of this very accomplished, very important woman, all you have to do is vote. You can vote on the resolution to rename the board, and you can accomplish that. The Library Board of Trustees passed a motion to support the renaming in October. It's not required, but they did go ahead and pass that motion in support. And just for your reference, we did receive letters of support from Senator Baskin, Assemblywoman McMahon, the Erie County Commissioner of Public Advocacy, Dr. King, and the Women's Foundation CEO, Sherry Scavone. So that's just some quick background information for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions first from this board?
Thank you, Liz. Great job. Appreciate it. I just want to add, for the record purposes, that we have since received letters of support from Congressman Kennedy, Senator Sean Ryan, as well as Assemblymember John Rivera for Congresswoman Chisholm's dedication to Western New York and Amherst and her national legacy. So I thank you for really highlighting what she did here while she was a resident. I also think it's important to note that some of that information came from the Uncrowned Queens Institute, which is a wonderful resource, and I encourage everybody to check it out. Dr. Barbara Nevigold has also, one of the co-founders, expressed her support for this endeavor as well. So I appreciate you looking into this. I'd also like to just finally note that we really tried to get this in, but yesterday would have been Congresswoman Chisholm's 101st birthday. And so it's a perfect time within her centennial to really think about what it means and what the past 100 years have meant for our town and our nation and what the next 100 years are. So thank you for that.
Thank you. All right. Anything further from the board at this time? Okay. So I'm going to invite members of the audience. There's already a line I can see. To speak on the subject. We have a 3-minute time limit for speakers. I'm going to ask you to state your name and address for the record, and you may please come up.
Larry Hunter, Sundown Drive, Williamsville. I found the previous presentation very interesting with all that Shirley Chisholm accomplished. There was nothing in there about her doing anything for Amherst. However, in order to hold a public hearing, the town is required to post an official legal notice of hearing in the Amherst Bee, which is the official paper of the town of Amherst. I have not seen, nor am I aware of any such notice that was published. Therefore, before you proceed, I'd like to see where and when Councilmember Marinucci followed the rules and posted a legal notice of hearing in order to proceed. If Councilmember Marinucci is unable to provide a copy of such legal notification, then until a legal notice of hearing is published, any and all discussion concerning this hearing must be postponed and rescheduled at the appropriate time. You cannot hold a public hearing without legal notification.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sham Sriram. I live at 315 Delaware in Kenmore. I'm an assistant professor of political science at Canisius University, and I'm also a member of the 514 Buffalo Massacre Community Memory Coalition. I'm here today with at least 6 of my students from Canisius, which is awesome. And I'm here today to just share why I think would be a great thing to name this library for Congresswoman Chisholm. I also want to acknowledge that yesterday was her 101st birthday, or would have been, but today is the 60th anniversary of the implementation of the Immigration and Nationality Act by President Johnson, December 1st, 1965. If anyone would like to read more about this, I have an op-ed in yesterday's Buff News about this. I bring up that piece of legislation because it is that legislation that ended quotas, which allowed Congresswoman Chisholm's parents to emigrate from the West Indies, as it did my parents to come from India, because the US needed English-speaking doctors during the Vietnam War. Some of the things that are amazing about Congresswoman Chisholm, just to share, is that I just taught this semester my class on Congress and the legislative process. There are hundreds of people I could have focused on, but at the beginning of the semester, I focused on 3 members of Congress that I thought my students should know about at Canisius. 1 was John McCain, 2 was Patsy Mink, and 3 was Shirley Chisholm. And it was an honor to take my students on a field trip across the street from Canisius to Forest Lawn to visit her grave. And that is something that I know my students will carry with them for a long time. I think what is important in this context is that there probably are people in this audience who are opposed to the renaming of this library because they see it as something related to DEI or some of these catchy terms. But I'm here to tell you that Congresswoman Chisholm was a trailblazer, not because of her race or gender, but in spite of the challenges thrown up by that, in spite of the institution of Congress, which limited her committee assignments. She was from Brooklyn, but yet they put her on the agricultural committee when she first got into Congress. And later she was moved to other committees to show, and the work she did there was what still stands. So I just want to mention 2 things she did that I think people forget. One is not only that famous quote about the folding chair, but her famous slogan was "unbought and unbossed," which covers her grave at Forest Lawn. She did not take any special interest money, whether she was in the New York State Legislature or the US Congress, and that I think is something that we should hold to as a gold standard for political participation. And secondly, I'll just say, yes, she did great work for WIC and education and welfare, but it is the courage to run for president, knowing the odds in 1972, which is what some scholars call symbolic empowerment. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Next.
Hi. My name is Marilyn Firestein. I live in Amherst. I 2 points I want to make. And first of all, is this a renaming of the building? I thought it was a renaming of the building. It's not a renaming of the library. It's a renaming of the building. The other point I want to make, I am on the library board, and we have not officially voted to support there was a vote, but it hasn't been officially entered. It's a draft, so that is not official yet. I want to say that, I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I admire Shirley Chisholm. I think she was a trailblazer. She had tremendous accomplishments. But I'm also here to point out that the library buildings, naming the building is separate from naming the library. And in Buffalo and Erie County, the library can ask the municipality to change the name of the building, but it hasn't, in my research, happened where the library, where the municipality has changed the name of the library without more consultation. So the libraries that have been renamed in Buffalo and Erie County have been honoring individuals who've made significant contributions to their local communities. Elaine Panty, formerly the Riverside, was a board member working tirelessly to get a new building and was involved in the food pantry, and she was championed by the Friends group there. Isaiah Gonzalez, formerly Niagara Porter, was a community advocate. He ran a local radio show, supported bilingual education, and was championed by the Hispanic Heritage Council. Leroy Coles, formerly the East Delavan Library, was an active and dedicated president and CEO of the Buffalo Urban League for 25 years, began the first Black adoption agency, and was championed by them. Rhinestein Library in Cheektowaga was funded through the philanthropy of Victor Rhinestein, and the libraries were named for his family members. I am not opposed to Shirley Chisholm. I just think that renaming the building, as I was reminded by Councilman Marinucci, is your prerogative, and the library has nothing to say, neither does the public. I was told that it's up to the town to decide what names to name the building. So, you know, I'm just voicing, as far as naming the library, I think that it's a public library and the public should be more involved, and there should be more time. I don't see the emergency in renaming a library, and that's my point.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Allen Konovitz. I live at 140 Brook Edge Drive in the town of Amherst. I'm a user of Amherst libraries, primarily Clearfield and Audubon. And by going to them, I received all this information on Shirley Chisholm, my last couple visits. So here goes. Shirley Chisholm was certainly a remarkable woman and deserving of recognition. She earned a master's degree in early childhood education from Columbia University and was a consultant to the New York City Division of Daycare. She was a champion of racial and gender equality. As a congresswoman, she continued her fight against racial and gender injustice. Certainly, she was a hero to many of her followers. However, I fail to see any connection that Shirley Chisholm had with libraries. I recently received, as you probably did as well, the newsletter Journeys from Hospice. On page 10 of the newsletter, it states the Milch Mitchell Campus of Hospice and Palliative Care bears the Dr. Milch's name, honoring his enduring dedication and visionary contributions to compassionate end-of-life care. Our federal court building is named after Robert H. Jackson, a Supreme Court justice and prosecutor of Nuremberg trials and a native of Frewsburg, New York. In libraries, as you just heard, the city of Buffalo chose to rename the Riverside Library after Elaine Panty, a community activist who spearheaded a drive to build a new library. The Riverside Men's Shop expansion would have forced the closure of the old storefront library. Through Elaine Panty's efforts, a beautiful new library exists. In each of these name changes, the individual had a relationship or connection to the building that was renamed. The Audubon Library exists today because of the efforts of one individual. Through her dedication, tenacity, and determination, the new Audubon Library became the busiest and most used library in the Buffalo and Erie County library system. If the town of Amherst decides to change the name of the Audubon Library, it should be renamed the Mary F. Bobinski Library. To not rename the Audubon Library that Mary F. Bobinski Library would truly be an injustice. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Patricia Dorr. I live in Williamsville. I wasn't planning to speak, but when I saw the second bullet up there that said the Board of Trustees passed a motion to support this renaming, that is entirely inaccurate. It was discussed. This was dropped in our laps, unknown to us. It was discussed, and that's it. There was no formal motion. The board did not support it.
Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Giambra. I live at 755 Renaissance Drive. That's the address of Canterbury Woods. I have been a trustee of the Amherst Public Library System for the past decade. I retired from the Williamsville Central School District, where I worked for 37 years as a school librarian before becoming a district administrator, coordinating the 13 school libraries, the business department, and administering the federal funding for the district. I also served for 25 years as a trustee on the Williamsville Education Foundation. I am a past president of the New York Library Association and was a member of the American Library Association Council for 9 years. I am well aware of Shirley Chisholm's natural stature as a candidate for President of the United States, a very patriotic ambition on her part. I knew she was a pioneer. Her early career as an educator seeking a master's degree in education mirrors mine. In my decades as a school librarian, I helped many Williamsville students research famous Americans such as she. Most recently, in discussion of the proposal to rename one of our libraries to honor her, the mother of a fourth grader pulled out her phone to show me a photo of her daughter dressed to impersonate Miss Chisholm as part of her social studies research assignment this year, including the black afro wig over her blonde hair. One major activity of the Williamsville Education Foundation is to name worthy district graduates to the walls of fame at the 3 high schools. Those discussions involve assessing the merits of nominees in their work life, in their profession, and to the advancement of the world at large. If Miss Chisholm had graduated from a Williamsville high school in the 8 years that she was an Amherst resident, she would surely appear on the wall of fame for her accomplishments. I have worked in Amherst more than 50 years. I have lived in Amherst more than 25 years. I have seen Amherst make positive changes. Now this change, the renaming of the main library to the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library, is one that reflects those changes and is one that Amherst will be proud of. School children, especially young women, will have a role model. Citizens of all persuasions will respect her patriotism and citizenship. I am proud to have made the motion on the Amherst Public Library Board of Trustees to support this effort of the Amherst Town Board. I am pleased to report that my motion passed by a majority of the members in attendance. We support your initiative. Thank you.
Hello, My name is Christy Doherty, and I am the Amherst Public Library's director. I oversee the Amherst Main Library at Audubon, Clearfield, Eggertsville-Snyder, and Williamsville branches, which are contracting libraries with the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library System. Amherst libraries are unique in that they serve different areas of Amherst, but are utilized by patrons across Erie County and New York State. Feedback about the name change has been varied. As such, we protect each library user's right to privacy and confidentiality with respect to information sought or received and resources consulted, borrowed, acquired, or transmitted. Verified library patron comments have been collected for those who did not wish to share their address or email, and I do have a collection of them here. They unfortunately were too big to send via email, but I do have them for the record for the council members. There has been a precedent in library building renaming to honor individuals. An example would be the Stephen A. Schwartzman Building, which houses the flagship location of the New York Public Library. Similar could be done with the Amherst Main Library at Audubon, housed in the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library Building, providing an opportunity to highlight the accomplishments and local connection of the Honorable Shirley Chisholm, in addition to maintaining the original library name for the community and on materials to denote the location. It is my hope that this proposed building renaming elevates the needs of maintenance and capital improvements for all 4 library buildings. They include Eggertsville-Snyder Library roof and fascia repair, Williamsville Library roof repair, carpet replacement, phone system update, Amherst Main Library HVAC 1 replacement and software update costs, Amherst Main Library bathrooms with multiple stalls renovation, accessible push-button doors at the Clearfield Library Hopkins Road entrance and Eggertsville-Snyder Library ramp entrance, Clearfield Library HVAC replacement in the very near future due to issues from an old unit, changing lighting at all 4 libraries to LED, and much, much more. The Amherst libraries are thankful for the allocation in the town's budget for quarterly HVAC maintenance and repairs, garbage and recycling, security system updates, pest control, maintenance supplies, plumbing fixes, fire inspections, roof repairs, and also much, much more. Thank you to everyone in attendance for supporting public libraries. Your passion for collaborative engagement strengthens our community.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Scavone. I am an Amherst resident residing on Campbell Meadows Drive, and I am a business owner and CEO of Your Western New York Women's Foundation. I rise today in strong support of the resolution to rename the Amherst Main Library in honor of the Honorable Shirley Chisholm. And as noted, I have submitted more extensive data-informed testimony. But in summary, renaming our library would honor the extraordinary legacy of a former Amherst resident and affirm our town's commitment to equity, civic participation, and inclusive public institutions. Shirley Chisholm was one of the most consequential political trailblazers of the 20th century. She was the second African-American elected to the New York State Legislature, and in 1968 became the first African-American woman elected to Congress, as you have heard. In 1972, she made history again as the first African-American woman to run for president of the United States, expanding the possibilities for women and people of color in public life. Throughout her 7 terms in Congress, she introduced more than 50 pieces of legislation advocating for women, children, immigrants, people with low income, and communities of color. She co-founded both the National Women's Political Caucus and the Congressional Black Caucus, always lifting voices that had long been ignored. And I might note, in 1972, women could not get a mortgage or a car loan without their husband signing on for them. After retiring, Shirley Chisholm made Amherst her home, passing away in 2005, where she was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Cemetery in the same mausoleum as my grandparents, so I visit her frequently, further connecting her legacy to Western New York. Until very recently, 2024 to be exact, our community had no institutions or monuments recognizing the many contributions of women, which are 52% of our population. Honoring Shirley Chisholm is essential to correcting that imbalance. Her fight for racial, gender, and economic justice, as well as her roots as an educator, remain deeply relevant. Public libraries embody the values she championed: learning, empowerment, and opportunity. Renaming the Amherst Main Library in her honor would send a powerful message to current and future generations that Amherst stands for equality and celebrates those who have worked to expand rights and opportunities for all. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the town board to adopt this resolution and rename the Amherst Main Library as the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Zawatsky. Address is 72 Byberry Court. I actually live in East Aurora, but I've worked for the town of Amherst libraries for a little bit over 30 years. Over half of my career was spent working for Mary F. Babinski. I'm asking that the
Can you
board-
move a little closer to the microphone or raise it?
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm asking that the board take pause and possibly reconsider the naming and the process and the research done into who it should be named after. Mary Babinski worked for 33 years at the Amherst Libraries. I sat with her on a daily basis and we talked about how to improve accessibility, circulation, and the patron experience. Mary lived for the Amherst Libraries. Mary built the Amherst Library at Audubon. She went to the state legislature to gain approval for that building, which was built in the middle of a swamp. At that time, Amherst had had 3 libraries, one of which the Eggertsville Snyder had recently had an addition put onto it. So nobody really wanted to hear, why do we need a 4th library in Amherst? Mary championed for this because she knew that that neighborhood, that community needed it. That is what the community was built around. And this was a central hub, the town hall, the police, the senior center eventually, and the library. That was part of the plan around the lake. Mary not only fought for the library, but she fought for both expansions. She had put through in the town budget long-term plan the 2nd edition, which she sadly never saw go through. She actually had the blueprints made by Cadeni Architects, the original architect of the main library at Audubon, as well as the first expansion of the main library at Audubon. Mary was a wizard at fundraising, and she knew how to treat people and how to talk to people. She truly is the Amherst Main Library at Audubon. When you talk to patrons and people in that neighborhood, it's her name that pops up. I'm not saying that somebody else doesn't deserve to be recognized, but I think she needs to be recognized for what she did. Not only did she work there and dedicate her entire life, she lived walking distance from there, her entire career. Mary, like I said, sadly did not see the 2nd edition go up. She is laid to rest in the village of Williamsville. Her grave marker is actually a library book, so she lived and died with the library in her heart. I'm asking the board just to take pause to review the candidates' credentials and maybe consider nominating or renominating it in the Mary Babinski Library. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. My name is April Baskin, and I have the privilege of serving as New York State Senator for New York 63rd District, which encompasses Buffalo, Cheektowaga, and the city of Lackawanna. I don't directly represent Amherst, but I always tell people some of the smartest people I know live in the town of Amherst. And I am so privileged to be able to join my colleagues in the state legislature and fight for resources to help the cultural and arts movement in this great town continue to propel our entire region forward. And one of the things that I think that will do that is the renaming of one of your public libraries after the Honorable Shirley Chisholm. I don't often speak out at public hearings because I believe they should be reserved for non-elected officials, the public who want to tell us what they want to do. But this was very important to me to lend my voice briefly because I truly believe I would not be who I am or where I am today if it weren't for women like the great Honorable Chisholm. So many people have already spoke to her accolades, so I won't go through her bio again, but I will talk about the importance of Amherst taking such a bold step like this forward. It is my opinion, being a lifelong Buffalonian and representative from Western New York on a statewide level, I will say that Amherst really is an economic engine for our region. When it comes to the shopping trips that people take every weekend, major development, the vibrant Chamber of Commerce that you all have, housing, or all of the great things that have just come out of the town in recent years, you really are a trendsetter for our region. And the work that you are doing and the capital that is created in Amherst really helps drive the rest of our region forward. And I'm not afraid to say that, it's true. And with you all being a town of trendsetters, you should keep up your reputation and being the first at the table to do robust things like take the first woman of color who ever received a major party's nomination for President of the United States. She was a resident here, and she has given so much leeway to so many other women in our community and across our nation to take a leap of faith and do the unthinkable and be the first. And so to me, it is just the perfect kind of recipe for Amherst to be the town that takes this bold step forward and does the right thing and names the library after the Honorable Chisholm. So many of us in this country have so much to her that we owe in terms of being able to step out, uplift women, and do the unthinkable. I believe that Amherst is a trendsetter, as I said before, and it'd be a great honor to be here with you and cut the ribbon on the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library. I hope that you vote in the affirmative. Thanks for hearing me out.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert McLennan. I live in Amherst in the Gettsville Zip area. So the Audubon Library is my library. I go there all the time. It's a jewel in the county system. It's a great spot. And I've also always admired Shirley Chisholm, her incredible courage through the years, her willingness to take on any challenge. And when I first heard this idea, I thought it was great. I thought it was a brilliant idea. And the fact that she lived in Amherst for a number of years in Williamsville and is buried here in Buffalo is just icing on the cake. So I think this is really a no-brainer. I'd be proud to go down and visit the former Audubon Library and spend some time at the Shirley Chisholm Library. And I encourage the town board to support this name change for Shirley Chisholm. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Judy Fochko. I live at 136 October Lane, Amherst, New York, 14228. When I first heard about the suggestion to rename the Audubon Library, the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library, I was at the Williamsville Farmers Market. I was having a conversation with a couple of friends about it, and a group of 3 others interrupted to say they overheard us talking and they were excited about this news as well. I saw a few comments on Facebook about renaming the Audubon Library for its former director, Mary Babinski. I'm sure she did her job well. There is currently a room at the Audubon Library named after her, along with a UB lecture series. Nobody had publicly suggested renaming the building for Mary Babinski in the past, as far as I know, or could find online, and didn't do so until an inspirational Black woman, who was the resident of our town, was proposed. I did a quick Google search and found no prominent building or memorial for any Black person in the town of Amherst. Not one. Renaming the Audubon Library after Shirley Chisholm is just one step in the right direction. There should be representation of all in our town. The American Library Association and our own Buffalo and Erie County Library System specifically stands behind the words, "Libraries are for all." We should all be striving to do better and be better. I'm proud of our town for taking the step to be more inclusive. Netflix thought Shirley Chisholm was prominent enough to offer a movie about her life as a trailblazing icon, available since 2024. 2 among many stars in the movie are Regina King and Terrence Howard. If you don't know who Shirley Chisholm was, this is a great movie to watch to learn more. I saw many family and friends over the holiday weekend. I told everyone about the renaming in honor of Shirley Chisholm. Many knew her story and were as excited as I am. Those who didn't know of her spoke in support of the renaming after I told them of Shirley's accomplishments and that she had been a town resident. When I told them there might be a few against this name change, All of them asked why anyone wouldn't celebrate this. As a resident of Amherst, New York, I wholeheartedly support the renaming of the Audubon Library to the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library. Thank you for your time.
Joe Wojtovich, 35 Bucyrus. I first thought renaming the Audubon Library seemed to be a simple matter until I dug into this a little bit deeper to find out why this is being done. First, there is no other suburban library that is named after a person other than the two Cheektowaga Rhinestone libraries. They were named from a family that came here in 1880. The woman who came in first, she was the first woman doctor in the area. And they donated land to the two libraries and a 290-acre preserve. Now, how does Shirley Chisholm compare with this? Well, she lived in Amherst for about 7 years or so. She never bought a house here. I did a search through the county clerk's record, find no evidence that she bought a house here. And soon after she moved here, she got a job offer from a college in Massachusetts for a full-time teaching there. So that shows that she didn't spend a lot of time here. And I was just so astounded about the politics involved with this, about the number of letters that were attached to this resolution. It includes one congressman, 2 state senators, a state assembly member, a county legislature, Erie County Commissioner on Public Advocacy, who's also a director of the Commission on Status of Women, and the CEO of Western New York Women's Foundation. How much more politics can there get in here? So now it's not just Amherst renaming the library for their own purpose. It's almost all the rest of America that's getting involved with this. It should be the Amherst residents that are getting that choice, not everybody else. I also looked up more information on Shirley Chisholm. Some of the details I found related to her first election in Congress. Right before that, in 1968, a court-mandated redistricting was done, and because of that, she was able to get 19,000 votes, whereas the other 2 candidates got no more than 1,900 votes. So obviously, the court redistricted, made it all concentrated in one area, and she got all the votes she got in. I'd also like to mention that a few other people have talked about her running for president in 72. She did not run for president. She was trying to get the nomination, and at the Democratic Party meeting, she only got 150 votes, and there's some 4,000 that are needed to get the nomination, so she did not run for president. On a side note, I did work in as a tax returner in 2010, and I had one client when I worked there in Buffalo, and she had 3 children and was on welfare and other government support programs. She worked from September until early December when she quit. She did that to earn the maximum child tax credit. It was based on earned income. She quit early because the amount she earned would get the maximum tax credit of $7,500. Her total income that year came out to over $25,000. Minimum wage that year would get you about $15,000. So for her to go to work and get off government support, she would have had to make maybe $40,000, which was never going to happen. So she was stuck on welfare forever. So this is what Shirley Chisholm also promoted, was welfare for all the poor around, and she's got them working on welfare ever since. Nobody gets off.
Respectfully, your time is up. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Peter Arnold. I'm a lifetime resident of Gettsville. And the Amherst Library stands today because of the vision, leadership, and dedication of Mary F. Babinski, the longtime director of the Amherst Public Libraries. Renaming the library in her honor would recognize the person who not only guided the library for more than 3 decades, but who also won approval to build the Audubon Library itself. Her fingerprints are literally on the foundation of the building and the modern library services we rely on today. Under Babinski's leadership, library usage more than doubled, new technologies were introduced, and programs for children's, families, and adults expanded dramatically. She transformed the Amherst Public Library into one of the busiest and most innovative in New York State. Her work wasn't just administrative. It enriched daily life in Amherst and shaped the experience of generations of readers, learners, and families. Honoring Mary F. Babinski means honoring local history, local service, and the very spirit of what libraries represent: communities, learning, and opportunity. While national figures like Shirley Chisholm deserve recognition for their historic impact, the Audubon Library is a place whose story begins with Mary Babinski. Naming the building after her connects its identity to its true builder and celebrates the kind of hometown leadership that makes Amherst special. Renaming the Amherst Library for Mary F. Babinski would not only preserve her legacy, it would inspire future generations to value public service, community leadership, and the transformative power of libraries. I worked for the Amherst Public Libraries from 1979 to 2020. I was the interim director between Mary Babinski and Roseanne Butler Smith. In that time, I have no knowledge of Shirley Chisholm ever visiting the Amherst Library. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Culpa and members of the town board. My name is Lisa Block Rodwin. I live at 48 Amherstdale in the town of Amherst. In the 30 years that I've been a resident of Amherst, I can say I've never spoken before at a town board meeting. But
Could I ask you to move a little closer to the microphone, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Benga. I want to say that I am so proud as a member of Amherst that the town board is considering naming the building after one of my personal heroes, after somebody who was a trailblazer for women, trailblazer for persons of color, and a trailblazer for Americans. He did. And what is a library to those of us who live in a community? It is a place of education. It is a place to expand our minds. It is a place where we bring our children and our children's children, and when they see a name on the building and say, "Who is that?" we have the honor of describing an amazing person. And the fact that individuals who were overwhelmingly elected by the citizens of Amherst, by all of us who live in this community, are in support of this resolution, I think also speaks volumes as to the benefits that will accrue to us and future generations of those who live in our community. Thank you.
I'm Jerry Shan. I live at 199 Meadowview, and I won't repeat all of the comments that people have said, but I strongly support this resolution, and I'm glad we're going to name the library after Shirley Chisholm. The Honorable Shirley Chisholm was, in a sense, an inspiration for many people. I happen to live in the generation that grew up when she was rising to a stardom as a candidate in Congress and the president. I'm proud that she moved here and made Amherst her home, and I'm happy that this board is going to vote to name our library. And I do want to thank the one other speaker who was kind enough to point out that on October 21, 2025, the Amherst Public Trustees of the Amherst Library Board met, and there was a resolution passed on a motion of Carolyn Giambra to offer board support for the name change of the main library at Audubon to the Shirley Chisholm Library. And it was seconded and voted by a majority of the board to support that, and anything to the contrary was not accurate. Please do vote, and please vote unanimously to make this change. Thank you.
So there's no second
Okay.
second round.
That's an
Thank you.
inaccurate statement.
Thank you. There's no second round. Anybody else? With that, I'm going to motion to close the public.
Before you do, I just want to add something, please.
All right.
For the record, it is true that the Bee failed to post the publication despite it having been sent to them on time. However, Ms. Marinucci did not even have to run a public hearing in this matter. She chose to
gonna
after
address
discussion with our office.
Let me address that, please.
Okay.
Okay. With that, I'm going to motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. So I think what the town attorney was alluding to is, so Councilwoman Marinucci wanted very much to have an opportunity for people to come up and speak in support or against the resolution, though she certainly was well within her capacity as a council member to ask for a vote on a resolution that she would add to the agenda. There was no legal requirement to hold the public hearing. So, you know, I've heard a lot of things this afternoon, and I'm sure that there's a lot of different opinions, but I wanted to address a couple of items. First of all, as a white middle-aged man, I am consistently reminded and surprised by the amount of effort that it takes in any community to recognize the enduring legacy of prominent women of color. And when we talk about naming buildings, we talk about naming buildings that, you know, when we put a name on a building, it needs to drive the community forward and thought and in inspiration. And certainly Mary Babinski was a wonderful librarian, a wonderful director. He had the ability to work at Cadeni Architects during the consideration of the second edition. Well familiar with the project. Initially, I grew up in Tonawanda, but going through college, my thesis was on libraries as community space and place, and Mary Babinski was somebody whose reputation was unsurpassed in Western New York. As was Roseanne Butler Smith, who had to fight for and did finally get an addition on a building. But there's a reason in Amherst that you don't see names like Babinski and Butler Smith, or Askey and Lucy, or Grelick and Sharp and Weinstein appear on many of our facilities. It's our job. We're here to do this. We're here to progress and move the community forward, to get and fight for additions on buildings and considerations of facilities. We do that as public servants because it's our choice, because we're hired into a position and we meet our expectations of our jobs. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't honor the spirit of Mary Babinski. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't honor the spirit and legacy of many who have come before us. In this circumstance, what we're considering doing is taking the name of somebody who has literally progressed not just Amherst, because I heard that comment, what did she do for Amherst? Not just Amherst, but progressed the entirety of our country and the entirety of our country's dialogue on civil rights, on equality, on the capacity for people of all gender and color to be able to move society in directions that other people would find unfathomable, that took risk and put their legacy on the line every time they did. So when we talk about this project, or Councilwoman offered this resolution, I would say that my hat's off to the Councilwoman first for entertaining this public hearing. And I'm going to shut up now and let her speak about the resolution and what it means to her. But I think we should just recognize for a moment that this is a resolution that we are perfectly capable of moving without this. But Councilwoman Marinucci, I think correctly, took the extra effort here, and I'm going to hand it off to her now.
Thank you, Supervisor. So just to be clear, because everybody said all the things that I do want to say, but we did attempt to put a public notice in the paper and paid for it, and the Amherst Bee apologized profusely for their error and tried to get that legal notice out there. But in the meantime, I worked with the editor of the Amherst Bee to have it on the front page, which is way ahead of where the legal notices would be, as well as in other ways to get out further information. I thank the Amherst Public Libraries for displaying the graphic on this public hearing and on the Honorable Shirley Chisholm, because it did allow patrons to get more awareness of this and put it out there. I am incredibly proud to introduce that. I also wholeheartedly support all of the great work that Mary Babinski did and that Roseanne Butler Smith did, and now that Christy Doherty does, because I'm a lover of libraries, and we are incredibly lucky in the town of Amherst to have the amazing Amherst Public Libraries and the libraries that we have here. But with that, I so move to rename the Amherst Main Library at Audubon to the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
On the question, I also want to point out that it was prominently displayed on our webpage.
Thank you for that. All right, the next item on the agenda is public expression. So I'm going to motion to open public expression at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So there is a list I'm going to go from first. And again, I would ask you to come forward. Please state your name. I'm going to give everybody a moment to clear out, and then I'm going to move forward. But I'm going to ask everybody to state their name and address for the record. All right, so we do have a list. The first person on the list, Steve, we're gonna hold you till after. Okay, so the first person is Kathleen Semiday.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Semiday. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And we were told that there was going to be the vote today on the 2557 Millersport rezoning, which it looks like you're tabling it again. Our attorney that's representing us, he has a letter that she asked me to read because she was notified of this at noon and could not get away from what she was doing to be here. So this is on her behalf. Members of the board, there has been a lot of discussion surrounding the Millersport rezoning application, but a troubling lack of transparency. I attended a meeting with Councilwoman Berger, the town attorney, and a town planner on October 20th to discuss potential noise and aesthetic mitigation measures for this project. Mr. Palumbo was also supposed to attend the meeting, but was unable to come due to illness. During the meeting, we talked about screening and noise buffering options that would be acceptable to the neighborhood, but no final decision could be made without the applicant and their attorney. I was told Councilwoman Berger would follow back up with me once she had a chance to discuss with them. It has been a month and a half without any correspondence until noon today, when I was informed that the board would be making a decision on the application at 3 p.m. No discussion or options have been presented to the neighborhood for consideration. This sadly conveys that the board is not genuinely interested in the neighborhood's feedback. It is also concerning that I was only given 3 hours notice of this item being voted on. We've repeatedly provided New York State case law, zoning code provisions, and comprehensive plan citations that all indicate why the rezoning should not be approved. It will serve the interests of one individual developer to the detriment of the surrounding community. New York State case law is clear that a rezoning cannot be lawfully approved under these circumstances. Further, in deliberating the project's impact to the surrounding community, the board is supposed to consider noise, traffic, and environmental impacts. No studies analyzing these factors have been provided and/or reviewed. This review process is simply insufficient under New York State law, and any decision at this point will be arbitrary and capricious. The town may be enticed by additional tax revenue, and we understand and support additional development of this property. However, development needs need to be consistent with a comprehensive plan and be compatible with the existing neighborhood, which is dense residential development immediately adjacent to the project site. It is hard to understand how the Amherst Town Board could authorize a busy restaurant drive-through immediately next to existing residents' backyards that used to be quiet and peaceful respites for people to rest and relax. Amherst is supposed to be a beautiful and carefully curated suburb where thoughtful deliberation goes into all proposed development. Property values are high, and residents deserve to enjoy the homes that they work so very hard to afford. Unfortunately, this rezoning seems to be more of a rubber stamping process as opposed to a well-researched and thoughtful deliberation. Keep in mind, the applicant doesn't even have a clear proposal, but since the applicant is a big developer, the town feels compelled to approve regardless. This results in a significant disservice to the town residents, the folks who elect the town board as their representatives, and it also is unlawful. We will seek legal relief here and sadly waste more taxpayer money doing it. Thank you. And then for my time, that's the end of the letter. Does somebody want to say something? I'm sorry.
No, can you just, for the record, state your attorney's name?
Melissa Semide.
Melissa Semide. Okay, so I'm going to let you continue with like a reset on your time.
Yeah, mine's just very small.
Go ahead.
Okay. That's the end of the letter. And I want to provide my feedback, which... Okay, my name is Kathleen Semide, and I live on Collins Court.
Thank you.
I wanted to provide my feedback, which is that I think there seems to be some shady backdoor dealings going on here. Why wasn't this on the published agenda? Why are we being told about it only 3 hours ahead of time? It doesn't sit well with me, and I intend to report this to the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government to investigate potential misconduct. The least the board could have done was follow the proper notification process, which hasn't been done here. And we know you pulled the same antics with the Westwood application. So obviously there's a pattern of unethical behavior here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, perfect. Robert Semide. Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else this afternoon? Seeing none, I'm going to motion to close this round of public expression.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, Steve's going to come later at the end, the second round of public expression. Okay. Next, we have our resolutions. First, Councilman Zuccalla, you have resolutions to set public parking hearing date. Want me to just continue? Okay, sure. So,
I think we should just continue. Thank you, Supervisor.
sure. Parking restrictions on the east side of Caledine Avenue. So there's a motion to set the public hearing date. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, similarly, Councilman Zuccalla has the motion to set public hearing date for parking restrictions on Heim Road at South Wedge Drive corners. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And next is a Councilman Zuccalla also has a resolution to set a public hearing date for the Miller's Crossing stop sign installation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Councilman Zuccalla and the Traffic Safety Committee have been busy with those, so we appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 987 is a new firefighter for Swarmville Fire Company. A motion to adopt the resolution and the appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 988 is authorization for prepayment to the RTD Mail Corp for 2026 town and county tax bills and receipts. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 989 is Granicus LLC meeting management software for Minute Track CRS 5826. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 990 is adopting Electronic Signatures and Records Act, or ESRA, for the town of Amherst, New York. I'll motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 991 is a change order for parking lot paving, CRS 5967. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 992 is a change order for the Amherst Veterans Memorial Phase 1, CRS 5921. A motion to adopt the change order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 993 is change order number 2 for Veterans Memorial Phase 1, CRS 5974. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 994, change order 1 is for Global LED Solutions, CRS 5975. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 995 is budget transfers and amendments. A motion to adopt those.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 996 is award a bid 2025038, sewer equipment and supplies, CRS 5912, 5913, and 5914. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 997 is award a bid 2025044 for Tired Road Service, CRS 5926.
Second.
All in favor? I need to recuse myself for Resolution 998.
Okay.
Okay, resolution 2025-998, award of bid 2025039, special inspection services. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? I'm going to ask the clerk to go to resolution 1002 as well. The supervisor would also like to recuse himself for that resolution, and that's resolution 2025-1002, award RFP 2025-08, state and federal government relations services, CRS 5950. And I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Should I go get them now?
Resolution 999 is the Northtown Naming Rights Extension, CRS 5946. A motion to adopt the resolution as it appears.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1000 is the awarded bid 2025048 Machine Shop Services, CRS 5947.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1001 is the awarded bid 2025047 Tree Removal and Stump Grinding, CRS 5948. A motion to, okay. All in favor? Did you already do one? Okay. Resolution 1003 is an extension of bid 2023052, Townwide Fire Alarm Inspection Service and Security Monitoring, CRS 5960. Motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1004 is an amendment to Tyler Technologies contract, CRS 5958. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1005 is the ice melt products, CRS 5965 and 5966. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1006 is award of bid 2025050 Waukesha Natural Gas Engine Gearbox and PLC Service, CRS 5976. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1007 is awarded bid 2025009 Mental Health Clinician Services, CRS 5977. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1009 is LED street maintenance, light street maintenance contract amendment, concrete, Applied Technologies Corporation, DBA, CATCO, Town of Amherst, job 2023.034A, CRS ID 5970. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1010 is standardization of multi-hog equipment. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1011 is extension of employee benefit consultants, CRS 5916. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1012 is recreation attendant, part-time youth and rec. A motion to adopt the appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1013 is recreation attendant, part-time youth and rec. A motion to the appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1014 is recreation attendant, part-time youth and recreation. A motion to the appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1015 is per recreation attendant, part-time youth and rec. I'll motion to adopt the appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1016 is recreation specialist, part-time youth and rec. I'll motion the appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1017 is the youth service program coordinator in youth and recreation. I'll motion the appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1018 is program leader, youth and recreation. I'll motion the appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1019 is labor, youth and recreation department. I'll motion the appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1020 is sidewalk waiver request for SWW 2025-04 for 681 Frankhauser Road. I'm going to recommend or motion to provide the sidewalk waiver request.
I'm going to motion to deny it.
Okay.
Based on the recommendation from the Planning Department and Traffic and Safety, I do believe that the right-of-way will accommodate sidewalk as well as the eastern portion does. So even though I know there are not currently any, as the homeowner says next to them, the Planning Department has recommended we review if they should be there. And so at this time, I
Okay, so we,
vote against. I don't know how to.
yeah, so the resolution is framed in the affirmative.
Yeah.
So we have to motion the resolution in the affirmative. We need a second to enter discussion.
I will second it.
Now, on the question, we'll ask the clerk to please record Councilwoman Marinucci's comments.
I have a question for the planning director. Can you clarify a little bit more on the recommendation to deny?
There's also those.
Yeah, the engineering department looked at it in terms of constructability. There's no obstacles for preventing it from being constructed there. It is in our law to require sidewalks with development like this. And so there's no basis for us to recommend the waiver, nor a basis for the engineering department to recommend a waiver.
Okay, so there's a motion, a second. Councilwoman Marinucci's comments, question from Councilwoman Berger and a response from the planning department, all considered on the question. So I think the best way to approach this is if I call for a vote. Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask the town clerk for a voice vote.
Supervisor Copa?
No.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin?
No.
Council Member Berger?
No.
Council Member Zucala? Yes. And Council Member Marinucci?
All right, resolution, what?
Did you just vote in favor?
No, we just voted no.
Well, I know, but I think Marinucci just said yes.
No, I said
No, Mike said
Mike said
yeah.
yes.
I know Mike did.
No, she said no.
All right, just,
Okay.
yeah, could you?
Yep, just to confirm. Thank you for confirming. Yep, okay.
Okay, 4 no's, 1 yes.
All right, I thought I heard yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. I
We
will
did.
go back in a moment, yes. So just to clarify, the sidewalk waiver is not approved,
It's denied.
denied. When we formulate these things in the positive, it makes you have to vote against the resolution. Resolution 1008 is the adoption of a revised Town of Amherst Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. There's an emergency services director here who's like, I came all this way just for this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I told Brandon before, I said, I don't think there's an issue, but, and then
Well,
I
we
went
do
and
appreciate your
missed
work
the,
on it.
yes, thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. It's exciting.
Well, hopefully not too excited. The less we have to employ, yeah, okay. Resolution 1021 is SWW 2025-05, property located at 699 Casey Road.
Second.
It's a sidewalk waiver request. I'm going to motion the resolution as it appears.
A second.
All right, on the question on this one? No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1022 is a request for a public hearing on proposed zoning code text amendment creating an urban renewal area overlay district, or URAOD, ZTA 2023-05. Again, it's a request for a public hearing. I will motion to grant the request for public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1023 is a contract extension between New York State University of Buffalo, CRS 5951, use of firearms range at APD headquarters. I'll motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1024 is the Quadient Leasing USA Incorporated, CRS 5952, lease of postage machine.
Second.
Motion to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1025 is the auction of sewer maintenance surplus equipment. A motion to adopt the auction
Second.
or to approve the auction. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1026 is the CCTV sewer inspection equipment Q's Incorporated, CRS number 5971. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1027 is a contract extension, bid 2023049, transportation of stabilized sludge cake and screenings, Stancor LLC, CRS 5955. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1028 is Town of Amherst bid 2025002, sodium hydroxide, 50% solution Slack Chemicals Company Incorporated, CRS 5956. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1029 is Town of Amherst bid 2024045, ferric chloride solution PVS Technologies Incorporated, CRS 5959. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1030 is the 2026 MOA renewal for the Western New York Stormwater Coalition, CRS 5949. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1031 is change order number 4, no cost time extension, Progressive Roofing Incorporated, WPCF roof system improvements, Town of Amherst project 2016.002B, CRS 5981. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1032 is a purchase authorization. A motion to adopt that purchase authorization.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 119 is the North Bailey Fire Company project fee waiver request. I would recommend we grant that fee waiver request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 120 is correspondence from Steve Cohen. I'm going to recommend we receive this, refer to the town attorney, and offer an opportunity for Mr. Cohen to discuss an executive session following this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 121 is a notice of claim for Karen C. Cuvis versus Town of Amherst. I would recommend we receive this, refer to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 122 is a notice of petition for Derek M. Anderson versus Town of Amherst et al. Again, I recommend we receive this and refer to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 123 is a notice of claim for Bruce D. Dove versus Town of Amherst et al. I recommend we receive this, refer to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 124 is the notice of claim Progressive ASO Nicole M. Heckler versus Town of Amherst. Recommend we refer this to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 125 is a notice of claim Subro IQ ASO State Farm Insurance Group versus Town of Amherst. I recommend we receive this, refer to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 126 is the notice of claim for Liberty Insurance Corporation ASO Joseph Brozick versus Town of Amherst. Again, I would recommend we refer this to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 127 is summons and complaint for Cross Country Mortgage LLC versus Town of Amherst and all. Recommend we receive this, refer to the town attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1033 is a private improvement permit number 3133 sanitary villas at Essex Woods, 2018.029 SP 2018-08.
Second.
Motion to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1034 is a private improvement permit 3134 water line at villas at Essex Woods, 2018.029 SP 2018-08A. I'll recommend we approve this, or I'm going to motion to adopt that public
Second.
improvement. All in favor?
Aye.
And we have some suspension items.
Okay, I'll motion to exit the agenda for purposes of entertaining suspension items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Want to do these?
That's the first one.
Yep. Okay.
Want me to do that one?
What's wrong, Steve?
It's really the second page. Okay. All right. I want to clarify that I worked with the planning department to come up with an approach for the sound attenuation or whatever term you want to use. So what we've included as a condition, and so this is where it'll be important for you, that the petitioner shall provide an acoustical analysis of any drive-through operations as part of his or her site plan submission to the planning board. So that way they will consider that and that will be required. And that's where you can really argue on the sound concerns. Okay?
What? Well, so I think Councilwoman is clarifying a motion. Nobody's made the motion yet, but there's a resolution in front of us to adopt local law for rezoning for 2577 Millersport Highway.
But I wanted to point out to you that I did address that. The petitioner is not in favor of this. Actually, he doesn't know the wording that we actually put in there. But this is not something he was looking for. We did this to try and do our best to protect the neighborhood.
Okay. All right. So there is another round of public expression after this. So right now, I guess I'm just going to make the motion to adopt local law to amend zoning map for 2577 Millersport Highway, C 2025-02, inclusive of the two restrictions. First, the deed restriction to be filed, provide and maintain. It's so.
The first one I thought was a deed restriction.
It is. It's a deed restriction, according to resolution, to be filed, provide, maintain green space and landscape buffers measuring 25 feet along the adjacent residential zoning east and south of the subject site.
Is it not a condition? I was told.
It is a condition.
It's a condition, but not a deed restriction?
Yeah, that's
A condition that a
the
deed
deed restriction.
restriction be filed.
The s-
Okay.
The second, which Councilwoman was bringing up, is that petitioner shall provide an acoustical analysis of any drive-through operations as part of his or her site plan submission to the planning board.
I thought we were also adding something that it be considered
during the, do we need to say that, or is that adequate? We wanted that to be taken into consideration at the planning board.
Okay, so right now I've made a motion.
You're saying that's what it says? It's not the exact language you told me when we were discussing it.
So right now there's a motion to adopt the resolution as it appears with those two conditions. Is there a second for discussion?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. So on the, in conversation, Councilwoman, if you want to change the language, we would need to do an amendment.
Yeah, well, I need clarification. I have the attorney saying one thing and the planning.
I don't think so. I think what this is saying is that when a site plan is presented to the planning board for consideration, there needs to be this acoustical analysis so we can assess the noise that might come from this and determine if there's any mitigating measures that we can put in place or things that we can do to help alleviate the noise. That's what that says to me as the author. So
I guess I'll motion to amend to the second condition to state that it's not only for inclusion in the submission, but to be considered by the planning board. That's a motion on an amendment.
I'll second that amendment.
All in favor of the amendment? Any opposed?
Nay.
See, so I'll ask for a voice vote on the amendment.
Supervisor Copa.
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin. Councilmember Berger.
Yes.
Councilmember Zucala. And then Councilmember Marinucci.
No.
I'll motion the resolution as it appears with the amendment.
Second.
On the question, is there any further discussion or clarifications? I'm gonna then ask the town clerk for a voice vote, please.
Supervisor Copa.
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin. Councilmember Berger.
Yes.
Councilmember Zucala. Councilmember Marinucci.
An explanation of my vote, I do want to commend the developer and Councilwoman Berger for their amount of work on this to get this to a place that may be more palatable. So I truly commend them for all of that. That being said, at this time, I am a no vote for these conditions.
With that, carries. I'm gonna motion, is there another suspension item?
I'm confused. You handed me this and said, are you suspending this in? And I didn't think. Okay, never mind.
I'm going to motion return to regular agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm gonna motion to open the second round of public expression.
Second.
My name is Kathleen Summiday. I live in Collins Court. I guess I'm not understanding what you're telling me is happening. If you could explain it.
Sure. So the town board voted to adopt the rezoning, which provides an opportunity for the petitioner to now present a site plan for approval. The town board, in doing so, put two restrictions in place. Both of them were outcomes of Councilwoman Berger's efforts. The first records a deed restriction, or would see the petitioner record a deed restriction with the county to maintain a larger than normal buffer area. The second requires an full acoustic analysis of that drive-through facility to be taken into account by the planning board. So when we rezone a property, it's rezoned. It gives the developer the ability to present a project that meets the current or the new zoning. However, they still have to go through a site plan approval process. So we're offering direction to the petitioner, should they decide that they were going to move forward with the new zoning in place, that they need to satisfy the conditions put forth by the councilwoman. First, they have to record a deed restriction. Second, they need to record and refer a full acoustic analysis to the planning board. That's where we are.
Okay, I guess my question is, how can you rezone it when they don't even have a plan for the property yet?
So a rezone is not a plan. A site plan and a zoning request are two different items. The zoning request says our zoning doesn't fit what our intended use is. Is the intended use in conjunction with what the town's intended purpose is or intended use in that area? This town board decided to vote yes. We did find the zoning consistent with what we thought that area should be able to tolerate. However, that's far from an actual plan, right? The actual plan now has to be developed by the petitioner, and they have to satisfy a whole different set of circumstances for the town, of which we just put two more satisfied circumstances. So they are going to have to now put together a plan, come before our planning board, and ask for a site plan approval, and then ultimately we'll have to file for permits, right? But the use is a use. It's not a plan. It's not a site plan. Does that make sense? Did that
It makes
clarification
sense,
work?
but then
Okay.
why do you have to rezone it? I mean, everything else around there falls under the same thing, and you're just changing that one parcel. Doesn't make any
Understood.
sense.
Okay, that's
They'd be like saying our whole house, our whole neighborhood's houses, and we decided, well, we're gonna put a hotel in there now. I mean, there's,
Respectfully, this is not a public expression is your opportunity to provide information to the board.
Okay.
We gave you a lot of leeway the last round of public
So
expression.
I think yeah, your opinion is certainly something that we understand. We've got recorded, and again, ultimately, you know, the town board made a decision. We're moving it to a different phase, and that developer will now have to satisfy a planning board.
okay, and then we will be notified when there is a site
Yes,
plan.
there will be a public hearing scheduled by the planning board, and we will notice within 600 feet, and there will be a notice published on our website and in the Bee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have anything further?
Joe Wojtovich, 35 Bucyrus. Before this meeting, I was wondering for a while why they rescheduled this to 3 o'clock. And then after seeing the dog and pony show that went on here, I finally figured out why. You brought in all the TV cameras, you scheduled all these groups to come in here at 3 o'clock so they wouldn't have to take off and work over hours, after hours. Of course, the people that need to see this too, they can't come because they were working till 5 o'clock or so. And also, one of the comments made before brought up this comment that was made a couple years ago at the Westwood Park discussion, in which the supervisor at the time called the people complaining against it racist because they don't want people from Buffalo possibly coming up to the park. Well, that got kicked in because the same type of comment was made today about being white. And I was wondering if all this mindset is the end of this, of pushing this resolution through with the library. Now, one of the issues here is, what is the background of all the board members here? About 35 years ago, I took a temporary job at the Rent-A-Center down on the east side of Buffalo. I got to see inside people's houses, how they were lived, what was going on there. And one house I was at, it was a mom who was setting up the teenage 17-year-old daughter with her own apartment that was fully funded through welfare. And also saw at one point a 3-year-old boy sitting in the living room watching rap videos on TV. And that just sunk my heart. And I've had this in my mind for 35 years. A boy like that should be watching Sesame Street, not watching violent shows like that on TV. You probably don't see this because nobody else has seen this before. I not met other people like this. One other person I knew at the time was the manager of the store, who turned out to be a lawyer. He had just gotten out of law school, and he couldn't find a job paid that well, so he took a job as manager of a rental store. He currently works for the county. He's been a lawyer for 35 years or so. But by passing a resolution like this, it does nothing to help out how the situation set up in Buffalo on this. Somebody who's supposedly a hero of everybody is not. The government has been pushing this stuff for 50 years, and nobody's finding a way to go around this. If you really want to help out people, look at the Democratic Party and see how they can help out down in areas that really need this. It's not in putting something out in Amherst here at the Audubon Library. It's doing real work down in Buffalo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to
anything-
respond
what-
quickly.
I was just gonna go ahead.
Well, so first and foremost, this was not a rescheduled meeting. This meeting has been on our schedule since it was passed in January. It was actually posted publicly in January on my own Facebook page as well. So this has always been a 3 o'clock meeting. It was in no way rescheduled. And while national politics and, benefits of, those type things are not things that the Amherst Town Board weighs in on or anything, I will speak personally to say that some of us on this town board have been the beneficiaries of benefits from our government services, and we continue to give back to our communities in ways that we are able to because of what was provided to us by the government so that we could be successful in what we've done. And I think that every single zip code in Erie County receives benefits from the government. 1,300 or so families in the 14221 district. So it's very easy to place perceptions or stigma on certain areas of a community, but it is very difficult to look across the wide swath of what our community makes up and what's going on in everybody's home. And I personally, as a council member, and what I've run on is to provide community benefits to everyone in my community, however that looks. And that is something that I do want my tax dollars to go forward to making sure people are able to be successful and have food, warmth, and housing in their home. Thank you.
Go ahead. I just want to piggyback on what Councilmember Marinucci said. It's easy to put a target on the city of Buffalo, but I have never hid the fact that I am the product of government services. I'm the product of welfare and food stamps and HUD and HEAP, and those products allowed me to sit at this dais today, and it's going to allow me to be the supervisor of the largest town in upstate New York. So I don't walk away from those services. I needed them. My family required them, but it allows me to be in this position we see today. So it took an unremarkable kid and gave him a remarkable opportunity. And I'm very thankful for that. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I also want to say we are coming down to the last few meetings at this dais with both Councilmember Berger and Supervisor Culpa, and I just want to make sure I recognize both of them for their continued efforts in the town of Amherst over the last 8 years. I've worked with them for 8 years. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I want to make sure they get recognized for all the work they've done and they'll continue to do after this career stint. So thank you both tremendously.
Yes.
Well, respectfully, I don't know if it's an executive session item. I suppose it could be.
Matters and 3 personnel items related to individuals.
Second.
All in favor?
On the question, we need Dan Howard, we need Brian Armstrong, we need Linda Yule, and Zach Garlick are all going to be, and Jeff Burrows. I'm sorry, and Bob. For 1 or 2 of the items.